Okay, lecture chapter 20, lecture A. This will be a short lecture today. Hopefully I get through it all. Today, tomorrow, Friday will be chapter 20 stuff. Trying to get caught up here a little bit. This is a little bit of self-paced if you're listening to the videos, obviously. Big things right now. Chapter 19 reaction quiz. There is no chapter 19 quiz. As a reminder, Monday is the chapter 20 or chapter 16 through 19 test. The study guide is out there. Test will be given Monday. If you are taking it online, I'll get the test provided to your representative, and then I'll get them at a later date to grade them. I'm gone all next week, so right now I'm trying to get ahead. Chapter 21 lecture will be posted by next week, along with the slides and then the respective reaction and quizzes with it. Okay, so chapter 20, from business culture to Great Depression. Obviously, everything will be on the PowerPoint as we talk. We'll just talk in general. Who benefited and suffered in the new consumer society of the 20s? How did the government promote business in the 20s? What protection and civil liberties gained importance in the 20s? And what were the causes of the Great Depression, and how effective was the government's response by 1932? So we're going to get into the post-war events in the United States. First off, don't have a lot of detail up here. I just kind of want to talk about it for a second. If you read the book, it goes into more detail, and if you've taken my other American history classes with me, I talk about it. The Sacco Vanzetti case. These two men were immigrants that worked at a shoe factory, I believe, in Boston or New York. I can't remember. It was on the East Coast. Someone is murdered. These two men are arrested. They are charged with the crime, and they are executed. Were they guilty? Maybe, maybe not. The evidence is very, very iffy. The point of this is this creates an outcry. Remember, we have a fear of communist, anarchist immigrants, right? This fits the mold. They're coming in, they're killing people. It's hysteria. So these two men are nothing short of at least a scapegoat. They may have been guilty, but how the whole process, they never got a fair trial. Never fair shake, right? So Sacco Vanzetti will be executed a few years later without probably being fairly given a day in court. They may have been guilty. I said the evidence is here or there. But the reality is this sets off the whole, basically how we view immigration in the 20s. We don't want foreigners. We are scared of them. We hate communism. We hate anarchists. We hate all this, right? Europe's bad. Business of America. So that being said, we are going to focus internally a lot for the 20s. We are going to remove ourselves from the world stage for most of it, and we are going to be very much, but the 20s is called the Roaring 20s. It's a good time. The decade of prosperity, the chief business of the American people, stated Calvin Coolidge, is business. We are businessmen. We want to make money. That is the American dream. Productivity and economic output rose dramatically as new industries such as chemicals, aviation, electronics flourished. And I mean chemicals like drugs, like pharmaceuticals, anything that goes along with that. You also have the rise of oil. Steel, obviously, was very prominent. But infrastructure-wise, a lot of projects, a lot of things going on, right? But the newest, electronics. We have power now. So light bulbs, radios, stuff of that nature is going to start to come about. The car, you could even go further with that. Gas stations. America is on the move. We have multinational corporations, businesses that are across the world. You have the rise of the American dollar. The American dollar will become very powerful. And then international business scenes, which makes typewriters, was the world's leader in office supplies. IBM still exists to this day. Now they are known as a computer company, but they will initially be created for basic business supplies. And they'll make typewriters. A new society, consumer goods of all kinds proliferated in America. Not to the extent that we have today, but this will definitely be a shift in what we were before World War I. Bought on credit and installment plans, the rise of American debt. We will buy stuff we can't afford. Acceptance of this replaced values of thrift and self-denial. More of an indulgence. Enjoy it. This is also a product of World War I because after the Great War, we didn't know if we'd live the next day. So live for the day. Don't worry about tomorrow. Right? That's a way different perspective. There's people out there. Has anyone here seen the movie Armageddon? Okay.
What movie?
Armageddon, Bruce Willis, blows up the asteroid. Sad at the end, but fun movie. In the movie, is it Steve Buscemi? The crazy guy, the guy goes, no nukes, no nukes. He's a smart guy, but he's kind of crazy. They actually duct tape him at the end because he kind of goes off the deep end. Well, anyway, right before the movie, he went out to a land shark. Spent $300,000, mostly on one woman. Got a hooker. Right? He didn't think he was going to live when he came back, did he? He comes back, he goes, crap, I owe $300,000 to a card shark now, right? Or a money shark. The point of it is, that's the mentality of the 20s. You don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. If I'm here, great. So they go heavy into debt. Now, a lot of people can afford it because the economy's booming. Yeah, I pay my debt off and go on living the dream. If you've seen The Great Gatsby, it also goes into this. Telephones, vacuum cleaners, washing machines, and refrigerators transform home life. Now, this is not like the modern refrigerators, vacuum cleaners we had. I'm pretty sure these would probably kill you very easily. Like today, I mean, most things are safe. These things are vicious. If you look at old appliances, they are crazy. And I'm pretty sure, I love Indiana Jones, but I'm pretty sure you could not survive a nuclear blast in a lead fridge. Sorry, Indy. Nuke the fridge is not good. I mean, you ever seen Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones? Yeah. That's it's fun, but no. Prohibition and aggressive advertising made Coca-Cola the symbol of American life. We were talking about it earlier today. I believe the recipe for actual Coke is only known by a couple people. The actual recipe. Prohibition is in effect in the 20s. Ironically enough, large amounts of alcohol are consumed. Prohibition doesn't stop drinking. If anything, it makes it worse. By 1929, weekly movie attendance had reached 80 million people. You have the rise of Nickelodeons, and then you have the rise of the actual movie theater that we would think of today. Movies of sounds will not come around to the late 20s. So if you go to a movie, at this point, you would actually have a silent movie where someone's up the front playing the piano going, dee, 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 like, and you have like them come up and say, Jim looks at Sally, and it's like, bah! You know, like it's like all this dramatic piano playing. Talk about a job that went away as the movie plays, right? So the accompanist or the piano player plays the music as the movie goes, and it's all choreographed. In fact, the first movie of sound, at least in the United States, and I'm pretty sure in general, is All Quiet on the Western Front. And guess what its theme is? World War I. They actually didn't know if people would actually like sound in movies because they actually used real machine guns to emulate the sounds, right? And when I say they use actual guns on movie sets today, but like, oh, they're all blanks, right? They actually shot real rounds. And they didn't know how people would react. Obviously, radios are very popular. Phonographs are the early versions of what we would think of CD, cassette player type things. They're a box, like a music box that has preset music and it plays it. That's what a phonograph is. Business of America 2, limits of prosperity. Real wage compared to corporate profit were not equal. Imbalance of wealth. Also, something I forgot to mention about the other thing was most Americans did not have any savings. So if they lost their job, they would be hurt, which fast forward a decade later when the crash comes and the Great Depression, Americans are hurting because they have no savings. Unemployment due to changing markets. And a majority of families, like I said, had no savings. The farmers' plight during the war, farmers purchased more land on credit to meet demand, and they actually had some money at the time coming in. But then once the war ends, the demand goes down, and they're going to be hurting. Prices and demand tanked in the 20s. Some 3 million migrated out of rural areas and moved to the city. Mechanization also emerged in the 20s, both good and bad. Mechanization meant there was less jobs on farms, but it also meant more cost to the farmer. You could do stuff quicker and easier, but it also meant more cost. The other thing is you could do more land. Farmers at this point can now start doing more than a small farm area. They can do massive amounts of land. Just to put in perspective, Brock, I know you farm and your family farms. Imagine, go back a generation or two, and you have those big combines. You have a 16-row combine probably, or 12?
Yeah, 12.
Right, big, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think you can get up to 16. I'm not for sure.
You can get up to like 24 or something.
Which would kill people on the road with that. But
Pretty much.
anyway, the point of that is you can do lots of crops quickly. go back to the 40s, my grandpa, he actually got a deferment. He was getting ready to go to World War II. He got deferred because he had to help his dad on the farm. I think it was a couple hundred acres at the time. Picked the corn. Literally picked all the corn on the farm by hand. Could you imagine doing that? I know you said you're going to work with your dad this spring. Could you imagine in the fall, husky or corn, or basically picking all the corn by hand?
Terrible.
Yeah. That's essentially what they did. They had a wagon behind them, and then you have the corn, and that's where the corn crib was born, and a lot of process, right? So there's a lot of good of it, but that allows farmers now to go from just a small operation to much bigger operations. Business of America 3. The decline of labor. Some corporations implemented a new style of management, provided private pensions and medical insurance. Will be born in the 20s. Workplace safety will become more prominent. Employers embraced the American plan. Core stood the open shop, workplace free of both government regulation and unions, meaning we'll get rid of the unions, no government regulation, but we'll take care of the workers so we have a better work environment. So the American plan at its core, not too bad. Obviously, the people we take advantage of, but basically they wanted to be left alone. Let us do our thing, we'll take care of people, and we'll take care of ourselves. And mostly the government respected this. Organized labor lost more than 2 million members, and unions agreed to demand after demand of employers. Now, workers' rights will decline somewhat, and profits for these businesses will soar. But overall, it was not a terrible experience. Business of America 4, the Equal Rights Amendment. This amendment was proposed later on, but it will ultimately fail. The 19th Amendment achievement eliminated the bond of unity among various women groups. After the 19th Amendment ratified in 1920 to give women the right to vote, basically that women's movement is going to crumble. They're going to lose unity. They achieved their goal, now they're going to fall apart. African American women in the South saw no support really at all. They couldn't really vote, though they were technically legally able to vote. They had no support. And women will also be deemed as inferior on a lot of fronts. So the Equal Rights Amendment will be proposed, or the ERA, not to be confused with earned run average in baseball, proposed to eliminate all distinctions on account of sex. It will fail. Only the National Women's Party supported it. Even the women's groups as a whole failed to really rally around it, and the Equal Rights Amendment will never get much more steam. I think it comes back in the 60s, but it will die. Women's freedom. Flappers will represent sexual freedom and a more open society for women. Yes, if you've seen the photos of them, the flappers dressing their dresses, dancing, short skirt, short hair, pretty revealing. This represents 20s represents the opportunity for women to really express themselves at the parents' sadness, I should say. Women's self-conscious pursuit of personal pleasure became a device to market goods for them, and basically this is the first you see women venturing out from the home and really establishing themselves. Also, from automobiles to cigarettes, driving cars, smoking cigarettes, drinking. Obviously, drinking is technically illegal, but people did it. Marriage thought was the end of this freedom, and thus many women lived very loose lives at this point because they wanted to not be tied down. Business of Government 1. We'll do a couple slides here and we'll call it good for today. Robert and Helen Lynn published Middletown, a classic study of life in Muncie, Indiana. They found that new leisure activities, a new emphasis on consumption, had replaced politics as the focus of public concern, which we would probably agree. Leisure activities, watching sports, playing games, video games, whatever, has replaced probably political debate. We often say one thing we don't want to do at the Thanksgiving table is talk politics. Dominance of Republicans caused many not to vote either. The Republicans will dominate the 1920s. Turnout of eligible voters had dropped from 80% in 1896 to 50% in 1924. To put it in perspective, I think the last election we were right around 52-54% eligible voter participation. So a trend that has started and really carried over is we don't vote. The Republican era, government politics reflected a pro-business ethos of the 20s. Let the business do what they want. Economy's rolling. We're not going to do anything laissez-faire, hands off. Just let it go. Go with the flow. There'll be corruption in government. Warren G. Harding took office in 1921 with the Return to Normalcy campaign. It was anything but normal. Became one of the most corrupt in history. Surrounded himself with mostly cronies from his support network back in Ohio, the Ohio Gang. They all tended to get in trouble. The most famous was Albert Falls, the Teapot Dome, in which he tried to sell government land to private corporations illegally, profit himself. Basically, it was a lot of land that had been deemed conservation land or land that Roosevelt had put aside. Oil companies and such were trying to get in there. Albert Falls, the Teapot Dome, was the name of the land. He'll be actually sent to prison over this. So the election of 1924, Calvin Coolidge took over for Harding. Harding will die in 1923, probably from a heart attack. We don't know 100% for sure. But when all the scandals started rocking Washington, he went on a long trip to the West Coast, out to California, and he will die there. And Calvin Coolidge will take over. He ran for his own re-election in 1924, will win in a landslide. Former governor of Massachusetts, very accomplished, very smart, very quiet. They called him Silent Cal. And obviously didn't help that the Democrats were heavily divided, so Coolidge will win. Economic diplomacy, retreated from Wilson's free trade and internationalism. They're going to have isolation and high tariffs. Still did not join the League of Nations. In trouble in Latin America, Nicaragua off and on, be interaction there. Essentially, we're isolated. We don't care about anything outside of the Americas. Monroe Doctrine style, high tariffs, we promote America. Things are good. Last slide. Far from civil liberties, policies of the 1920s showed how public support could go grievously wrong. New appreciations for civil liberties in the 20s, and hence why they were living for the moment. You'll have the Hays Code, a sporadically enforced set of guidelines in movies and prohibited them from depicting nudity, long kisses, and adultery. So initially, in old movies, you could not show any of this. Today, well, I think all four of those things happen on a regular basis in most movies. I think it's funny that they couldn't do long kisses or depict adultery in movies. I think that's interesting of the Hays Codes. Now, they were sporadically enforced. And there was, some of the Nickelodeons of the old day did show naughty photos. It's been around for a long time. But today we have a more streamlined system, right? We have PG, PG-13, etc., or G and all that. One thing you probably didn't realize, you guys ever watch Netflix or Amazon Prime or any of the online streaming things and be like, my gosh, there's a lot of swearing, there's nudity, whatever, right? Did you know that they do not have to apply by the same guidelines that network TV does? So like CBS, ABC, any of the network cables, the network television shows, they don't have to apply by the guidelines. They have a set of guidelines they have to adhere to. Not online platforms. So like when HBO and Cinemax and all those came out, reason they pushed the boundaries is because they could. They didn't have, because they were a paid subscription, they were premium, they didn't have to abide by the rules. Same way with streaming, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, even CBS All Access, which is another one. They don't have any guidelines they have to follow. They have to give a rating, but that's it. Declaring present danger, creation of the American Civil Liberties Union, ACUL. It still exists today. They're basically looking out for anyone's rights they feel violated. Schnick versus United States. First Amendment did not protect speech that presented a clear and present danger of inspiring illegal actions. So clear and present danger is if you say if your speech invokes violence or a threat, it's not protected. If your speech is invoking, go steal from the 7-Eleven during the hurricane, it's clear and present danger. You're advocating breaking the law. Does that make sense? That is not protected. Okay, that's quick, fast, and furious for that first part right here. We'll get into the culture wars and the Great Depression tomorrow and Friday. If you have questions, please feel free to ask me. Remember, test is Monday. Study guide is posted with the multiple choice as well. Have a great day.